Hello traders, welcome to another recap of my trading for Wednesday, June the 29th in the Emini S&P 500 ES futures contract. A really nice trending day here with a solid 7 points of profit on the day, so that comes to $350 per contract because it's $50 per point of profit. And just depends on the number of contracts that you trade in terms of what you are bringing in there for the day. But this was definitely a good one. We had seen some good runs up yesterday as well, and in the overnight, continuing those trending moves to the upside, and then seeing continuation as we got going. And really, it was similar to yesterday in that we had a good bullish move, running things up, and a good long right off the bat that we could carry up for a nice profit. So it started off with 3 points for both those days. Now this got a little bit slower in here as far as that trend goes, but still managed to take 3 points here. Thought about taking the profit there, but wanted to give it a chance just before the news. If it hadn't have followed through, would have been happy with 2.5 or so points. 2.25, 2.5, something like that would have been just fine if I could bank that there. But then once we pushed up after the news, we started to get a bit extended, and we didn't really have a great opportunity here. No good level to trade off of. Nothing that really fit the criteria that we're looking at. And because we had such a strong bullish move overall, we just had to kind of wait for things to set up again. And even though this is, I consider it's pretty well traded as far as the bull trend goes, it's important to note that trends aren't necessarily the easiest to trade. We kind of all know naturally, even when we just start out as traders, that with trends, you're just supposed to continue to trade with that trend and keep going long if things are moving up, keep going short if things are moving down, and just wait for pullbacks, wait for good price location, and take the trades. But it's often not that easy because it's very easy essentially to convince ourselves that a trend is coming to an end. And every time that a new high gets put in, we're convinced that this is where momentum is fading, this is going to be the top, and things are going to come back down. So newer traders that struggle, often do try to catch the top of these sort of markets, and especially in bullish trends, price can just continue to grind and grind and grind and grind into fresh highs, even without a whole lot of momentum. So you can take a lot of losses essentially trying to catch that top. And then similarly, even if you're not trying to, it's easy to convince yourself out of taking those trades as price is pulling back, just thinking that maybe there just isn't quite enough momentum to get that next leg. But as you can see here, I traded all the way through and just kind of stuck to the maximum of trade the trend until it bends. So that was basically in here. Took a loss, and that wrapped up my day. I didn't keep trading at that point. So there was some another losing trade in here. Some things I probably didn't really maximize, but overall pretty happy with it. I mean, this long in here wasn't into a fresh high, so it was always going to be a bit riskier. But in a good trend, I don't mind taking a trade like that. I just managed it tightly as a result. So when it didn't fall through, only took 3 ticks of risk. But once things were breaking through and levels of prior resistance could be used as support, I just continued to trade those along. And I was looking for a bigger run up in here, didn't get it, took the 1.5 off the table. We pushed up here, started to get limited momentum. You can notice how things were more limited here. And in those sort of cases, something we look at with our trading approach is getting a bit more conservative in those lower momentum conditions. And with something like this, I wanted to get filled pretty conservatively, wasn't able to, and then I just got in with a deep level pullback that was also off that trend line as well once things had come back a little bit more. So especially in these good trends, deeper pullbacks into those levels are really good opportunities to trade, but you do need that trend behind you if you're going to have a really strong expectancy with those kind of trades. So that's why, again, a lot of newer traders struggle when they're trying to trade off of all sorts of levels and in ranges, and in hindsight they look really, really easy to trade, but those levels can fail an awful lot. So you need something that can put the odds in your favor, that can really give you a strong edge, and a trend can definitely do that. But then once we continued to have that structure become more favorable and we're breaking into fresh highs and using those prior levels, it was just a simple matter of continuing to trade along. And I wasn't getting too greedy in here. You notice I could have had some more profit. But as the trend goes further and further, and especially as it starts to maybe accelerate a little bit, it can become a bit exhausted. There could be profit taking going on. So I try not to get too greedy on those. and just take the profit that's available until, as I mentioned before, I took that one loss. And then once that trend line broke, there was actually some interesting trading, a little bit further along if you were still going. But I was happy with that. It had been a little bit of a longer day than I normally have with the 2.5 hours in there, a little bit of a late start, but went a little bit longer. But just wanted to keep trading the trend until basically it came to an end, and no real reason to stop because it was pretty straightforward trading. So hopefully you guys did well, managed to just continue to work your way along that without trying to fade things too often, without trying to catch too many tops, and bank yourself a nice profit as well. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you like the recap. See you in the next one.